It was past midnight when a convoy of black SUVs rolled quietly up to the military hospital. Inside, the staff barely noticed at first, assuming it was another late-night visit from a government official. But when President Donald Trump stepped out, flanked by Secret Service agents, whispers spread like wildfire. This time was different. There were no cameras, no reporters, no stage handshakes or flashing lights. Naces exchanged surprised glances, wondering why the President of the United States would arrive in the dead of night. Trump adjusted his suit jacket and walked inside with quiet determination. The hospital's head physician, Dr. Reynolds, hurried forward, unsure how to address the unexpected visit. Trump raised a hand before he could speak. "I'm not here for politics," Trump said calmly. "Take me to the soldiers." The hallways were eerily silent, broken only by the soft beeping of heart monitors and the muted footsteps of nurses making their rounds. This hospital housed men and women who had given everything for their country. Some bore visible scars. Others were missing limbs. Many carried wounds no one could see. Trump walked slowly past rows of beds, his eyes scanning the faces of those who had once stood on the front lines. A young nurse named Emily watched cautiously. She had seen politicians visit before, posing for photos, offering rehearsed words, and leaving just as quickly. But this felt different. Trump wasn't surrounded by advisors. He wasn't delivering speeches. He seemed to be searching for something, or someone. He stopped beside one bed. The nameplate read, "Private James Carter." James stared blankly at the ceiling. A double amputee, he had lost both legs in combat, and with him, his sense of purpose. His fiancée had left. Friends had stopped visiting. He felt forgotten. When he noticed Trump standing beside him, James let out a bitter sigh. "You don't have to pretend you care," he muttered. Instead of walking away, Trump pulled up a chair and sat beside him. "Tell me your story," he said. James hesitated. Then something in Trump's voice, something genuine, broke through his defenses. For the first time in months, James opened up. He spoke of the explosion that changed his life, the pain that never stopped, the phantom sensations, the nightmares, and the crushing loneliness. Trump listened without interrupting. "Do you feel like your service meant nothing?" Trump finally asked. James clenched his jaw. "Sometimes, yeah." Trump exhaled slowly, his expression heavy with something close to regret. "That's a damn shame," he said, "because you're a hero, and this country should never forget that." For the first time in a long while, James felt truly seen. Trump rested a hand on his shoulder. "You're not alone," he promised. "I won't let you be." Emily had been watching from a distance, her heart aching. She had seen James at his lowest, refusing visitors, giving up on life. She stepped forward cautiously. "Mr. President, there are others like James, soldiers with no family, no one to remind them they matter." Trump turned to her, his gaze sharp but understanding. "Then show me," he said without hesitation. Emily led him deeper into the ward. One door stood apart from the rest, room 207. "He hasn't spoken to anyone in weeks," she said softly. "He's lost more than just his health." Trump nodded. "Let's see him." Inside, Sergeant William Reynolds sat in a wheelchair, staring out a darkened window as though waiting for something that would never return. "Another visitor here to pity me." William muttered without turning around. Trump sat across from him. "No pity, just respect." William scoffed. "Respect for what?" "For being too broken to serve." Trump shook his head. "For giving everything, and for raising a son who followed in your footsteps." William froze. His son, Lieutenant Jason Reynolds, had died in combat, saving his entire unit. "How do you know?" William whispered, his hands trembling. "They called him a hero for a day," William said bitterly. "Then they forgot." Trump leaned forward. "I won't forget." Something in Trump's voice, firm, unwavering, cut through years of grief. "Your son's name will be honored," Trump promised. "I'll make sure of it." William's hardened expression finally cracked. His eyes filled with tears. For the first time in years, he felt a flicker of hope. Trump turned to the staff. "I need a list. Every fallen soldier whose family is struggling. Every veteran who's been forgotten." The staff hesitated. This wasn't a typical request. But one doctor finally spoke. "We can do that, Mr. President." "Good," Trump said. "Then let's get to work." That night, he didn't shake hands and leave. He sat with doctors, listened to nurses, wrote names down himself. He made phone calls, arranged meetings, and set real change in motion. For once, the soldiers weren't just names on paper. They were stories worth remembering. As Trump prepared to leave, he noticed a small boy sitting alone on a bench in the hallway, clutching a worn teddy bear. His tired eyes met Trump's with a mix of fear and hope. Trump knelt beside him. "What's your name, champ?" "Michael," the boy whispered. His mother stepped forward, her eyes red from crying. "His father, Captain Rodriguez, is in critical condition. We don't know if he'll make it." Trump glanced toward the ICU doors and placed a gentle hand on the boy's shoulder. "Your dad's a fighter," he said, "and fighters don't give up." Michael clutched his teddy bear tighter, wanting to believe. Inside the ICU, Captain Rodriguez lay motionless, surrounded by machines. Trump pulled up a chair and spoke softly. "Your son is waiting for you," he said. "You've given everything for this country. It's time we give something back." The room was silent. Then a monitor beeped slightly faster. The nurse gasped as Rodriguez's eyelids fluttered. A single tear rolled down his cheek. He hadn't shown movement in days. Trump gently squeezed his hand. "Hang in there." Before leaving, Trump handed Michael's mother a sealed envelope. "Open this when you're ready," he said. Hours later, against all odds, Captain Rodriguez's condition began to stabilize. And in that quiet hospital, long after midnight, hope returned where it had nearly been lost. She unfolded the letter, and her breath caught in her throat. It wasn't a formal document. There were no legal phrases or official seals stamped across the page. It was a handwritten note from Trump himself. He wrote with gratitude for her husband's service. He spoke directly to Michael, encouraging him to believe in a future beyond hospital walls and uncertainty. And then came the promise that made her hands tremble. A full scholarship for Michael's education. Alongside the note was a signed order authorizing immediate financial support for struggling military families. Tears streamed down her face. This wasn't just a letter. It was hope, a lifeline in their darkest hour. That hospital visit stayed with Trump as he returned to the White House late that same night. Instead of resting, he went straight to work. He made phone calls, spoke with lawmakers, advisors, and military officials, and began drafting new initiatives for veterans, better health care, expanded mental health resources, and full scholarships for the children of fallen soldiers. The next morning, his staff was stunned by his urgency. "We need action," Trump said, holding up the papers. "These men and women gave everything. Now it's our turn." His team scrambled to put plans in motion. Though there was no official press coverage, word of the hospital visit quietly spread throughout the military community. Soldiers talked. Nurses shared what they had witnessed. Veterans listened. Something real had happened, something that couldn't be staged or faked. Days passed, and the impact became undeniable. Soldiers who once felt forgotten began receiving unexpected calls from support organizations. Veterans who had struggled for years suddenly found help reaching them. Trump refused to turn any of it into a spectacle. When reporters asked about changes to military funding, he answered simply, "It's the right thing to do." Emily, the nurse, watched the changes unfold in disbelief. She had expected the visit to be brief, just another appearance. Instead, she saw lives truly changing. "He meant it," she whispered to a colleague. "He actually meant every word." And for the first time in a long while, hope filled the halls of the hospital. Late one night, Trump sat alone in the Oval Office, studying a photograph he'd been given, Lieutenant Jason Reynolds in uniform. Sergeant William Reynolds' son, a hero whose name few knew. Trump traced the edge of the photo, deep in thought. He opened a desk drawer and looked at a small stack of handwritten names, soldiers and families whose stories he had learned that night. "I won't forget you," he whispered. For all the political battles he faced each day, this was what truly mattered. He vowed to carry their stories with him. Months later, Emily found herself writing a letter she never thought she'd send. She described what she had witnessed, how one night had changed everything. Soldiers who once felt abandoned now had support, resources, and hope. She mailed the letter to the White House, not expecting a reply. After all, he was a president. Then one morning, an official-looking envelope arrived bearing the White House seal. With trembling hands, Emily opened it. Inside was a handwritten note. Emily, the real heroes are people like you, the ones who never stop fighting for these soldiers. Thank you for what you do. You inspire more than you know. Enclosed was something even more astonishing, a signed bill improving military hospital conditions nationwide. Her breath caught. This wasn't symbolism. This was real, tangible change. She clutched the letter to her chest, overwhelmed. The world might never know the full story of that night, but she did, and that was enough. Months later, a quiet gathering was held at the White House. No cameras, no speeches, just gratitude. Veterans from across the country attended. Sergeant William Reynolds was there. As he shook Trump's hand, he whispered, "You kept your promise." Trump nodded solemnly. James Carter was there too, the young soldier who had once given up on life. Now he led a support group for wounded veterans. "I'm alive because of that night," James admitted. Trump simply patted his shoulder. Some moments didn't need words. What began as a small group of wounded soldiers sharing their struggles had grown into a national movement, helping thousands. When the media eventually took notice, James always traced it back to one conversation. "He made me believe I wasn't worthless," he told reporters. "That's why I'm still here." A year later, Trump returned to the military hospital. This time, he wasn't a stranger. Soldiers smiled. Conversations filled the halls. James sat in his wheelchair, offering new patients the same hope he had once received. Emily greeted Trump at the entrance, her eyes shining. "You did more than visit," she said. "You changed lives." Trump smiled and shook his head. "They changed mine, too." As he walked through the halls, he stopped at Captain Rodriguez's room. Fully recovered, the soldier stood and saluted. "I made it," he said. Trump clasped his hand. "I never doubted you." As Trump prepared to leave, Sergeant William Reynolds rose slowly, leaning on his cane. With steady resolve, he raised his hand in a salute. One by one, others followed, soldiers, nurses, doctors, even those in wheelchairs saluting the only way they could. It wasn't about politics. It wasn't about power. It was about honor, gratitude, and sacrifices that could never be repaid. As Trump walked away, Emily wiped a tear from her cheek. In the quiet hum of the hospital, one thing was certain. No one there would ever forget that night.